Well everyone, this is it. This is the BMW M5 CS, and it's the second CS BMW in a very short time. The M2 CS recently came out, and now this is here. And I have to say, this might be the most impressive BMW I've driven maybe ever. And as always, if you like this video, please subscribe to our channel, leave a little like, and click the bell icon so you get notifications for whenever we post a new video. So what makes an M5 CS an M5 CS? And what makes this car worth the $143,000 rather than the standard $100,000 of the regular M5? On the outside, you can see there are some changes. Carbon fiber hood, which has 2 scoops. It is pretty awesome. You pop the hood, it's all carbon fiber underneath, exposed carbon, and you see M5 CS. Just a cool little touch to show your friends, but that's not what makes it worth the money. You get some lightweight gold wheels, giant red calipers, and carbon ceramic brakes. You get the adaptive suspension from the BMW M8 Grand Coupe, which is interesting. You get revised steering. You get a carbon rear wing, or rear spoiler, because it's not actually a wing. You get a carbon rear diffuser. On the inside, there are some little special touches as well. For instance, and most importantly, the steering wheel. This steering wheel is covered in Alcantara, and it's a much smaller, it seems like it's a smaller diameter. I jumped out of an X5 straight into this, and this seems smaller. It also has a thinner rim, which is very important actually, because BMW wheels have often, not have often, they're always too thick now. For the past at least 5 or 6 years, BMW steering wheels have gotten so fat that it's almost parody. Like, it's almost a joke at this point. But this one isn't too thick at all. It's actually almost perfect. It's really, really nice. It's thin where you want it to be thin. It's thick where you want it to be thick, like here at the 9 and 3 bolsters. You know, I think it's just right. It's just right for this car. And the Alcantara feels really nice, and it's because it's what you touch all the time. It's an important piece, and I think it works really, really well in this car. It's a great addition to the interior. Another hugely important part is the seat. As you can tell, the M5 CS comes with the same carbon sports seats as the M3 and M4. They're optional in those cars, but they're not here. If you get the M5 CS, these are the seats you get. There are no options. In fact, there are no options of any kind. My spec sheet on this car, the Monroney for it, has no options at all. The only additional money on top of the stock price of the car on the Monroney is the gas guzzler tax. That's it. You buy this car, it comes as is. You get a choice of colors, and that's it. This one is Brand's Hatch Gray, and it looks great, but that's it. You don't get really anything else. And these seats come with it, and that's fantastic because they're fabulous. As they are in the M3 and M4, I actually think they're a little bit nicer in this because it feels like the leather is a little bit better, a little bit higher quality. I don't know that for sure because I haven't been able to just sit back to back in them, but from what I remember, and I've spent quite a lot of time in the M3, I think these are just a little bit nicer, but they're basically the same thing. And they have little, you know, M5 CS illuminated badges, and they have little Nürburgring map kind of in the headrest. They're very, very cool. But the coolest part is the fact that there are 2 of them in the back. The back seat essentially has 2 of these. They're not exactly the same. They're not carbon backed, and they don't have the little, let's say, thigh divider. That's an appropriate way to put it, right? This little guy right here between my legs. They don't have that little bump in the middle. But aside from that, they're very, very similar, and they're awesome. Everyone who's seen them so far loves them. They think they're the coolest thing in the world. Everyone who sat in them thinks they're amazing. I've sat in them, obviously not while it's moving because I'm the only one allowed to drive the car, but I sat in the back and it's awesome. I actually wish someone could drive the car for me because I want to see what it's like to sit back there and have this thing driven quickly, because that's amazing to me. You're sitting in a sports seat in the back. That's so cool. But yeah, aside from that, there's really not that much different. You get some CS badging there, and red stitching everywhere, and you actually lose a center console, which is ridiculous because why? Like, this interior isn't a lightweight interior. You're not saving, it's a negative space in here. You're not saving any weight. What, the latch hinge? That's not saving that much weight. It's made out of plastic. These speaker grills are made out of metal. They probably weigh more than the latch hinge on the center console. It makes no sense. It's actually frustrated me the whole time having it. I keep wanting to put stuff in there and I can't. So I have to like get creative with where I put stuff. But aside from that, the interior is, it's lovely. It's an older generation of interior because the M5 is an older generation of car for BMW right now. So you get like the older style center console, and you get this little Transformers leg for the shifter. But aside from that, it's awesome. But why am I telling you all of this just kind of poodling around and driving on the highway right now, comfortably and cruising? The reason I'm telling you this is because just the fact that it can do this is remarkable. Now you might say, well, of course it can do that. Every M5 can do that. Every 5 Series can do that. Every fast BMW can do that. And you'd be right. But this can do this. The M5 CS can be your everyday luxury car. It's not a luxury car, but it can drive you everywhere you need to go in reasonable comfort. But it can also do this. Manual, most aggressive setting, 4-wheel drive, DSC off, launch control active. Here we go. Oh man. To 60 in a 10.8 quarter mile. I knew I could do it. I knew this thing could hit 10s. Holy, this is fast. This is really, really, really fast. Oh, I love this car. Yeah, that's right. A race box confirmed, 0 to 60, 2.81 seconds, quarter mile, 10.8. I'm honestly astonished. I had to triple check the race box and the footage to make sure that that was real. I could not believe I hit a 10.8 in the quarter mile and then got in the car and drove home through the beautiful streets of Princeton, New Jersey in quiet comfort with Apple CarPlay on, listening to a podcast and just relaxing on the way home. I could not believe that. That my brain just can't compute. When I was first getting into cars as a teenager, the idea of a car running any sort of quarter mile under 11 seconds as like any sort of production car was insane. I mean, it had to be some kind of stripped out race car. It needed to be like a McLaren F1 to do something insane like that. And this is a 4-door sedan with 4 seats that are leather, every creature comfort in the world, super high tech. It's quiet on the inside. It just blows my mind. This thing should not exist. It is so ridiculously fast. I mean, it really doesn't matter. I'm in 6th gear, just kind of cruising, but you put your foot down and it just explodes. It's insane. It just explodes towards the horizon. And the way it picks up speed, even the little digital speedometer has like a hard time keeping up. And the numbers you see, it's actually hard to wrap your brain around how quickly it accelerates at any speed in any gear It's just relentless. BMW claims 626 horsepower. I think it's quite a bit more than that. I think that's a bit of a lie. Now, when I drove the BMW M2 CS, I thought this thing is perfect. I mean, it is the best the best BMW I've ever driven, at least the best modern BMW I've ever driven, and it blew me away. I absolutely adore. I still still adore that car. It's an incredible little sports car. But I'm going to say this is better. And I'm going to go one step further. I'm going to say this is the best BMW I've ever driven. I love this thing. I'm absolutely obsessed with it, and here's why. Not only can it go to a drag strip and run a 10.8 on road tires without a prepped surface or any kind of, special prep, the runway actually wasn't even that great of a surface. I bet you I could do it on this road too, if I had a long enough straight. Not only can it do that, and then drive home in comfort, but it's also one of the sweetest driving BMWs I've ever felt. The steering is so good. It has such positivity. You turn it and you actually you feel it. It has steering feel in a modern BMW. It's crazy. It has steering feel. The steering wheel helps a lot too. It's lovely to use. And the front end bites so well. It's not quite as razor sharp as the M3, but I actually think that's a good thing because there's more feel. It feels a bit more natural. The M3 feels very video gamey because it's so fast. And don't get me wrong, it's a great car to drive. I love the M3, the new M3 Competition. It's wonderful, but this is even more enjoyable. It doesn't have that immediate sort of darty video game type feel, but it has this lovely precision and this natural progressiveness to it that it feels better. It's just more enjoyable to actually use. Another thing, the suspension tuning is perfect for this sort of car. In the M3, it's a bit too firm. It's a bit too crashy. It just feels too stiff. I always say that the M3's closest, the closest thing in my mind to the way the M3 drives is the Nissan GT-R. It kind of just beats the road into submission. But this doesn't. This sort of breathes with the road. It's still very firm, but it almost feels Jaguar-like. It just kind of breathes with the road. You can feel the road underneath you. You can feel what the car is doing. You can feel the suspension load up, and it just gives you this wonderful sense of confidence. You know exactly what this car is doing underneath you. It allows you to control it better. It allows you to feel it and communicate and connect with the car better. It just feels kind of like an old school M5. It's really, really good. And it's probably the best combination of steering and comfort and handling and precision and feel that BMW has right now, and probably the best that BMW has had in ages. It's absolutely spectacular. I mean, there's just no other words for it. I mean, I'm gonna run out of superlatives. It's insane. I keep saying that. I keep using the word insane, but I can't help it. It's blowing my mind how good this car is. And what's wonderful about it is that you feel that and you notice that immediately. The moment you set off in this car, you go, this is special. This is something different. This is something special. And I honestly don't think I'm being just tricked by BMW's marketing about it. I mean, I'm a pretty skeptical guy. And I'm running over a bunch of little speed bumps. This feels really good. I'm honestly struggling to think of another BMW in recent memory that actually felt this good. I don't think there is one. There's just this beautiful compliance to the suspension. It's still very firm, like I said, but because I'm going to say it again. I don't know a better way to describe it. Because it just breathes with the road. It kind of just moves with it naturally, as if it's one with the road. It just gives you this incredible connection. And because of that, you have so much confidence. This is a very big car. It's still a big 5 Series. It's long, It's heavy, it's wide. I mean, I'm on a relatively narrow road, nothing crazy, and it's taking up the whole width of the lane. I mean, it's a wide car. But because of its incredible steering, that lovely compliance and precision, you can just plant it perfectly and trust that everything's going to be okay, that it's going to sort it all out for you, and that it's going to go exactly where you ask it to go. This might be the most confidence-inspiring BMW I've ever driven. Just that combination of its incredibly precise steering, the way its suspension, just as I said, breathes with the road and kind of has that perfect balance of, you know, compliance and composure, and just the overall, the ability of the chassis. There's never been another BMW like it. And I think it's honestly the best BMW I've ever driven. And it is absolutely my favorite BMW that's on sale right now. So that is the BMW M5 CS. It is not only the fastest BMW that's ever been made, the fastest production BMW ever, but it's also probably the most fun and enjoyable BMW in the past at least decade. It is a sensational, ridiculously good car to drive and absolutely worth whatever the hell BMW is asking for it. It is an amazing car, and I honestly just love the fact that it exists. The few lucky people that have already bought them all up are going to enjoy the hell out of these things, and I really hope they don't just sit and become collector's cars. These things need to be driven. The M5 CS is one of the absolute all-time greats, and I can't believe I've had the chance to drive it. And as always, if you like this video, please subscribe to our channel, leave a little like, and click the bell icon so you get notifications for whenever we post a new video.